Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam wa rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Al-Quran, the Jewels of the Quran. And we did not complete all these 18 verses from Surah Yunus, Jonah, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. And we shall, inshallah, resume reading from where we have stopped. We have covered until verse 6. Really, the first group of verses included here as jewels, 3 to 6. They include a reference to the creation of the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and we spoke before about the 6 days. We have verses in the Qur'an. We have verses in the Qur'an that speaks about a day like 1,000 years, a day like 50,000, a day like 1,000. Yes, a day like 1,000 years. كألف سنة مما تعدون. And a day like 50,000 years. And we spoke about Stawa al-Arsh, and we said maybe now I would use confirm the original cornerstone of no anthropomorphic, no real anthropomorphic attributes. Nothing is like unto him, nothing is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing resembles him of his creation. All the anthropomorphic verses that are in the Qur'an, that they have to be interpreted allegorically. For example, the hand of God is above their hands. It's the power of God. It's the obviously there could be no hand. Do not imagine a hand. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, in paintings and drawings, you'll find a wrinkled hand sticking from heaven, from behind the clouds towards the earth, something like that. That is extremely problematic, to say the least. The intercession, these are all mentioned in verse number 3 of Surah Yunus. Then it is followed by ذَلِكُمْ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُوهُ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. When you realize that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that created the universe, that He is, that all this is His dominion, that He arranges all matters, that مَا مِن شَفِيعٍ, it means that on the day of judgment, only He who's those who are permitted to intercede, they will. And this necessitates once you recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is God, the only God, and there could be no association with Him, no anthropomorphic representation. He is not that perfect. It's the problem with previous, almost as if almost as if the previous theologians of previous religions modeled God after the human being, pretty much like the Greeks. The statues, the idols, the statues of the gods, they appear like perfect human bodies. And that's obviously cannot be true at all. And people should be smarter to believe this, to accept this. And in verse number 4, there's a reference that we all shall return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all shall return to God. This is the promise. God promised us this, and it is true. He creates the all creatures, and he will return the creation so that he will reward those who did good. They believed and they did good, because there are people who are non-believers and they still do good. This is true. They will go out of their way to help. They will travel the world, think about, uh, for example, like Physicians Without Borders. They go to places of conflict, famine, whatever. But here it is الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات بالقسط. So we just pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide us all, Muslims and non-Muslims, to what is right. And there are, on the other hand, there are those who will literally suffer painful punishment in the hereafter, where they have their drink is boiling, things are boiling from um, surrounding them in hellfire. Their own bodies are burning, and if they try to drink, it's going to be boiling drink that rips through their intestines. It is graphic, but that's really a warning. He who made the sun a source of light, the moon reflecting that light, and that the moon, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will that it will have these phases, so that we may know how to calculate the years, how to account for time primarily, and everything else. All this has been created in truth, what is right, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends all these details of all these signs in the universe, of all these ayat, both written and created in the universe, so that people would decipher, so that they would reflect, they would know verily in the creation, in the creation, but also in the difference between the night and the day, is something that we will go back to, inshallah, again in our reading today. That there are signs for people who are God conscientious. لِقَوْمِ يَتَّقُونَ. We resume reading from where we have just reached. وقوله تعالى قل من يرزقكم من السماء والأرض أم من يملك السمع والأبصار ومن يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ومن يدبر الأمر فسيقولون الله فقل أفلا تتقون فذلكم الله ربكم الحق فماذا بعد الحق إلا الضلال فأنى تصرفون. These, of course, the selection of these jewels does not follow the. It's not like the all the verses. So now we jump from verse 6 in Surah Yunus to verse 31 and 32. Just that you may be on the same, that we will all be on the same page. This is page 102 of Muhammad Abul Qasim's translation. Ask them, who provides sustenance for you from the heaven and the earth? Or who is it that controls the ears and the eyes? The ears and the eyes, the hearing and sight. Because you might have an ear but no hearing. You might have eyes and no seeing. أَمَّن يَمْلِكُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ. That's probably more accurate. But of course, everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who brings forth the living from the dead and brings forth the dead from the living, who regulates the affairs of the universe. Al-Amr, everything in the universe, in brackets, of the universe. They will surely say, it is God. when they say they will surely say it is God, the the pre Islamic Arabia, those polytheists did much better than the contemporary atheists, because the pre-Islamic Arabs, they recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you might ask, why this polytheism? Well, it seems that this the historical story that someone brought them an idol to worship during these travels. The Quran does make a reference to two major trade caravans going north and going south. North to Sham, greater Syria, and south to Yemen. And at one point, one of those Arabs brought an idol from his travels. And that's how. But when we were asked about these other idols, they said that these idols would bring them close to God. That's really the problem. But they recognize God. And in pre-Islamic poetry, there's, because really that's the Abrahamic heritage, if you will. Not that I'm saying that we have Abrahamic religions. We have revelation, and because what would you call revelation before Ibrahim alayhi salam? What would you call revelation to Nuh alayhi salam? What would you call revelation? It is divine revelation, and then it was up to people how they will deal with this revelation, either accept, submit, or simply like today, in an age of they say, of course, if we talk about Europe, a Eurocentric worldview, Greek heritage, Greek and later on Roman, before the Roman Empire became Christian gradually. Then there was practically the Renaissance was kind of a revolt with the trying to find answers, and also taking interest in early European Greek heritage, that is. Primarily it was against the church, but the problem is it became anti-theocentric worldview, rather than simply concentrating on the position of the church in medieval times. And then we talk about the age of reason, where people believe that the human being has all the answers. That's really modernity, more or less. And then we are in a postmodern world where there is no absolute truth. I remember listening to someone who studied philosophy, and she said that don't hold yourself back if you have any idea, even if it runs against every norm. This is don't allow people to hold you back. There are no absolute truths, this person said. But that statement in itself, if we are going to use the philosophical argument, that statement itself entails a negation. That's not also true, that there are no absolute truths. And this is the problem of the modern, postmodern person. There is no recognition of truth, and therefore, ultimately, there is no recognition of moral boundaries. This is why we have, uh, trillion genders, and we have recognition of the same-sex family, and this all this fight about abortion rights, that a woman is free with her body. This is why we have in many European, Western countries, not only European, in some of these countries, and the number of single parents is very high. Families with no man figure, and when there is a man figure, he is not really playing his role. There is death of masculinity, if you will. It's a long train of thought that one can think about. So it is God. So then ask him, will you not then observe your duty? That is your God, your true Lord. So what is there after discarding the truth but error? How then are you being turned away? Verse 61, whatever you may be engaged in, whatever portion of the Qur'an you may recite, and whatever work all of you may do, we indeed are witness of whatever in which you may be engaged. Not the smallest particle in the earth or heaven is hidden from your Lord. There is nothing smaller or bigger than is recorded in a clear book, the preserved tablet that is في كتاب مبين. وما تكون في شأن وما تتلو منه من قرآن ولا تعملون من عمل إلا كنا عليكم شهودا إذ تفيضون فيه وما يعزب عن ربك من مثقال ذرة في الأرض ولا في السماء ولا أصغر من ذلك ولا أكبر إلا في كتاب مبين. Everything, of course, every single thing. من مثقال ذرة, because people don't, at the time, they cannot go beyond the dharra is the exact word that we use in Arabic for atom today, in the absolute sense, in the scientific sense. But dharra, that's exactly alam al-dharr. People understood that the dharra is that belongs to dharr. That's the smallest thing, and we know very well that we do have smaller components, and of course everything has to be it's almost like a massive mathematical equation that entails all the universe. Everything fits into, like when they speak about a theory of everything, of course, but how we will never be able to get the theory of everything. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the details of everything. And since the universe is by design, then everything fits into its own place in this large picture. We are almost, Imam Al-Ghazali does use the parable of those men and the blind men and the elephant, and each one touches one part of the elephant and thinks that that's what the elephant is. It could be the trunk, it could be a foot, it could be a tail. They are blind. And though we have our eyes wide open, in a sense, even when we contemplate the universe, even those who are, astrophysicists, and we are still blinded. First of all, we don't have all the details. Second, we will never have all the details. وَلَا يَحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. We cannot come up with a theory of everything. In fact, the scientific narrative is that it speaks about that part of the universe that we can see, that part of the universe that, and of course, that which we see has changed ever since. If you talk about these galaxies, the light that has been emitted, uh, that we see, is does not reflect the actual position. It reflects something that happened, and it's a continuous expansion of the universe that is ever changing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. وما يعزب عن ربك من مثقال ذرة في الأرض ولا في السماء ولا أصغر من ذلك ولا أكبر. Here we have a reference to that which is smaller and that which is greater. Smaller, today we know, whether we talk about protons, neutrons, electrons, quarks, etc. Verses 67 and 68. He it is who has made the night so that you may rest in it, and has made the day bright. Surely in their alternation are indeed signs, in brackets, of his existence, power, and wisdom, for a people who listen, in brackets, to the truth and seek to derive benefit from it. They, here it says, in brackets, the Christians, the Jews, and pagans say, God has taken to himself offspring. Glory be to him. He is self sufficient. He is self sufficient. To him belong whatsoever is in the heavens and whatsoever is in the earth. You have no authority in support of that which you allege. Do you then say concerning God that which you do not know? هو الذي جعل لكم ليلا لتسكنوا فيه والنهار مبصرا إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يسمعون قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا سبحانه هو الغني له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض إن عندكم من سلطان بهذا أتقولون على الله ما لا تعلمون. Subhanallah, of the when it says he it is who has made the night so that you may rest in it, لتسكنوا فيه. Your spouse also is a place of sakina, لتسكنوا. لتسكنوا إليها. And this is why the home in Arabic, the home is bait, the home is dar, the home is sakan. It depends on the function. So the function of the house being a place of sakina, this is about the attitude of the people. This is exactly what should be what the spouses before marriage, this is exactly what they should have in mind. There should be no superficial material romanticizing marriage. The family is about dedication. It takes a lot of energy to make the house a place of tranquility, a place where you may rest and this is your refuge, if you will. It should not be a place of contention, of negative energy, and making the life of the other spouse miserable, to say the least. لتسكنوا فيه. Night is a place of is a time of sakina, of tranquility, of rest. والنهار مبصرا. This today they say expose, in neuroscientists say, expose yourself to sunlight early in the morning, okay, so that you might start your day, no laziness, get up. But we have turned the night into a time of work, but mostly a time of entertainment and a source of distraction, a source of uh, ongoing spring of dopamine. Just simply, people are on electronics, watching things, continuous communication, being in touch with people, but no deep relationship, uh, silly, sometimes even harmful, that which is haram also, communication, and people want to be famous, have millions of likes, and what do? They do uh, they turn into the dangerous things. An example is doing pull-ups on the edge of a skyscraper and then falling to your death when you have no more energy to get up on the roof of the building, or exposing yourself naked, uh, whatever is the case. But the problem is, the night is not a time of sakina anymore. A time is not a time of sakina, and this is really a serious issue. The second verse is about the idea of sonship, pretty much pretty much Christian. But if you think about the Greeks had many gods, male and female, and in their mythology, they believed that those gods loved and married, or at least had a relationship with human beings. So male gods mated with human females, the other way around too. And the Greeks believed that some people were the sons of God. Pythagoras, for example, whom we know for his math, but he was believed to be son of, of God in a sense. And the birth of Christianity, the post-revelation development in this direction, the birth of Christianity was a birth in a time of when the whole region, the whole Mediterranean, was a Greek lake, with the Greeks being on the shores of Mediterranean, literally eastern coast of Spain, the North Africa, in Egypt, Alexandria, for example, in Asia Minor. So it was a Greek milieu. So it seems that, and we know that this is the case, that Christianity was colored by the Greek culture. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, He is a Samad. He does not need. He does not have. He will not have. This is the one might think of Surah Al-Ikhlas as a response. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He was neither begotten nor he begets, or he did not beget a son, nor صاحبة in a different context. They have no proof. They have no. Of course, they don't. Inshallah, this is sufficient for this session, and we'll continue with verses 100 to 101 in the next session, inshallah. Until then, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.